Beruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together in Daf Mem Dalid Amud Beis, 5 lines from the top. The Gemara previously discussed making mechitzos using human beings and made the following distinction. When the person who's made to make the mechitza is standing there knowing that he's making a mechitza, it's prohibited because it's doimet to binyan, a prohibition of building on Shabbos or on Yontif. However, if a person is placed in a certain position not knowing that he's making a mechitza, it's mutter. Says the Gemara in regards to then making these type of mechitzas. Hanhu b'nei genana, these people were part of a party, a wedding party. They encircled an area around the Reshus HaRabim connected to the Reshus HaYachid, so that they can go ahead and bring water from the Reshus HaRabim to the Reshus HaYachid. Nagdinu Shmuel flogged them because it was prohibited. Omar said, Im Omru Sheloi Midas Yomu Ladas. If the Chachamim said it's permissible for people to stand and make human mechitzos not knowingly, did they permit it when a person would do that b'mezi, knowingly, aware that he's making a mechitza? Certainly not. Hanhu zike dahaveshadyan beristaka the mechuza. There was leather pouches that were being brought to the public square in Mechuza, the city of Mechuza, which is the Reshus HaRabim. Bahadi da'asa rava mepirke. At the time that there was crowds of people that were around from Rava drasha. So Rava left those pouches in the area that was in this public area. Alinu nihile, his shamshim, then they picked it up, being surrounded by the people who were crowding around. L'shabta achrisi, the next Shabbos, a different Shabbos, Ailinhu, the Meshamshim also wanted to then similarly take a flask that was left from Rava and pick it up and bring it from the Reshus HaRabim to Reshus HaYachid with this crowd around. V'oselu, and Rava said it's prohibited. What was his rationale? Dahavula kedas v'oser. He said even though they do not know that they are making mechitzos, but since they already that this was done previously, then they could become aware that they're standing and making mechitzos, and therefore he made it prohibited. The Gemara now discusses the other cases of people who use Amoraim who used human mechitzos. Levi ailu le tivna. Levi had others brought teven using these types of mechitzos, human mechitzos. From a Reshus HaRabim, Reshus HaYachid. Zeiri aspakta. Zeiri, he brought animal feed. He had others bring animal feed in this type of area that was human mechitzos. Rav Shimi Bar Chia Maya. Rav Shimi Bar Chia brought water. The Gemara now brings the following Mishnah in regards to a person who goes out of his 2,000 amos beheter. Because, for example, he's an issue of pikuach nefesh. So he went out of his 2,000 amos beheter. Now he finds out, when he arrives to that place where he's going to then mefakech es hanefesh, that there's no need to then perform the mitzvah of pikuach nefesh. It was already taken care of. Now, what is his situation? Says the Mishnah, Misha yotze bereshus. He left bereshus again, for example, to then do the mitzvah pikuach nefesh on Shabbos. Va'amru loy, and they said to him, Kvar naase maise, the matter was already taken care of. Says the Mishnah, Yesh loy alpaim amal lekol ruach. He is given by the Chachamim 2,000 amos from his situated place. Wherever he now is situated, he now has 2,000 amos in all directions. Im haye b'toichat chum. The Mishnah continues and says that if he is still within the tchum, then it's as if he did not leave. He has his original tchum of 2,000 amos. The Mishnah concludes, Kol hayotzim lahatzil choizin lemekayman. All that go out to be matzil, they then give him back to go back to his original place. The theme of this Mishnah is that the Chachamim, Rabbi Gamliel specifically, did not want to discourage a person from then doing the mitzvah, let's say a pikuach nefesh. If they would not give him another 2,000 amos, then maybe he would not go in the first place if he would lose that 2,000 amos. he would then only have Daled Amos and he'd have to be stuck in the place where he is. So Rabbi Gamliel instituted that when he's going to do a mitzvah, then he will not lose the 2,000 amos. The Mishnah at the end then states, the Gemara will explain the Tosefes Chidush over here. Says the Gemara, asking the following question, what does it mean in the Mishnah when it says, when he is still within the tchum, it's as if it's ki'ilu lo yatsa. What does that mean? It's as if he didn't leave. He didn't leave. He's still within the tchum. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi. Hochi kamar, this is what the Mishnah means to say. It's true he's still within the tchum, but it means im haya betoich tchum shaloi ki'ilu lo yatsa. It means betoich beisoy dami. What it means is ki'ilu lo yatsa means as if he didn't leave his house, because he's still within the tchum, and therefore he has the same 2,000 amos. Ask the Gemara, pshita, that's obvious. He's still within the tchum. Mao the same. No, hoya ve'okar. I might think to say that since he left his original makom, therefore he no longer has the original makom, his original tchum. Kamash malan, that he still retains the original 2,000 amos. Rav Shimi bar Chia Omar, Rav Shimi bar Chia explains that when it says these words, it's ki'ilu lo yatsa, it means as if he didn't go out of his tchum. And hochi kamar, this is what it means to say, even though he actually left his tchum, it's as if he didn't leave it. As follows: Im hayu tchumim shenasnu loy, chachamim muvloim betoich hatchum shaloi, ki'ilu lo yatsa mitchumoy. If the tchumim that the chachamim gave him is going to be considered to be betoich, the tchum that he originally had, so then it's as if he didn't leave his tchum, even though he did leave his actual original tchum. But since the new tchum still converges with the original tchum, then it's ki'ilo yatsa tchum, and he still has, if he wants to go back to the original tchum and have that original tchum. B'maika mifligi, asking her, what is the machlokes in Rabba and Rav Shimi bar Chia? Mar Savar Havlos Techumim Milsahi. Umar Savar La Milsahi. The latter opinion of Shimi bar Chia, he holds that those Tchumim that are Havlos Tchumim are Milsahi. We have two Tchumim that are going to then be swallowed up literally. They're going to overlap. It's considered to be a principle that it's considered to be one large tchum, in which case a person can go back to his original tchum. Whereas Rabbah says no such thing. The fact that they overlap doesn't mean anything. He has his own tchum from where he is situated. Says the Gemara, Amalei Abai LeRabba. Abai now challenges Rabbah, who says that we don't say Havlos Techumim is a milsihi. Ve'at lo tizbara da Havlos Techumim milsihi, asks Abai to Rabbah. Uma ilu shavas b'ma'ara shebetoicha arbas alofim. If a person then had his shvisa in a cave which was 4,000 amos from one end of the cave to the other end, ve'al gaga pochos me'arba alofim amo, and on the top of the cave, on the roof of the cave, was slightly less than 4,000 amos, because let's say it was sloped. The lo nimsa mahalech es kula v'chutza lo alpaim amo. Would you not be able to then travel on the gag all 4,000 amos? In other words, from one entrance of the of the cave, that is going to be where we measure then his ability to then travel 2,000 amos. So it's saying over here that not only can he go out 2,000 amos, which is on top of the cave on the gag, but he's able to go to the other end of the cave, from one entrance to another entrance, which is slightly less than 4,000 amos. How does he do that? Is it not because we're saying that the 2,000 amos are going to be then swallowed up or overlapping? Isn't that the reason why we say that indeed he can go from one end to the other end? Otherwise, why should he be able to do that? Omar Le, Abai says no. V'lo shani loch bein heicha de shavas ba'avir mechitzas ba'oid yoim leicha de shavas ba'avir mechitzas ba'oid yoim. Do we not make the distinction that a person who was shavas in mechitzos on the onset of Shabbos, he has that area, that tchum, and therefore over here, on the onset of Shabbos, since he was shovas in the ma'ara, so granted we measure from the entrance to the ma'ara, but each entrance we're saying, we have then the 2,000 amos, therefore you can travel from one end to the other end. But in our Mishnah, it's not like that. In our Mishnah, we have two different shvises. Over here, we have the original bias, which has 2,000 amos. Then when he went to do the mitzvah pikuach nefesh, he left his tchum to go to another place. Granted, it might be then considered to be overlapping with the original tchum, but Rabbi would say that's not going to give him the original tchum, and therefore would only give him a new tchum. The heichadilo shavas loy. Ask the Gemara. This is now Abai then challenging Rabbi. The heichadilo shavas loy. And if he did not shavas in the same place, then you're going to say that it's not going to be considered to be one large tchum. V'hatnan, but it states in the Mishnah, even when you don't have the same area. Rabbi Eliezer oimer shtayim yikanes gimel lo yikanes. Even though he only had 2,000 amos, but it states according to this that if he has then 2 amos outside of the 2,000 amos, that is adjacent to that original 2,000 amos, then that itself is enough for him to then go back to his original tchum. So there we see that's not because we have the same thing, but rather it's overlapping. Because it's overlapping, we can go back to the original tchum, like Rav Shimi Bar Chiya was maintaining, and not like Rabbah. My love, Rabbi Eliezer l'taimei, is it not Rabbi Eliezer l'taimei? Do Omar v'hu be'emson, v'arba amos diyavu le rabbonin keman demivloin domu, v'ka Omar yikanes, alma davlos techumim milsi. Is it not that Rabbi Eliezer says l'shitosoi, that since when a person has 4 amos, 2 amos in all directions, therefore if he's situated within 2 amos of the original tchum, it's as if we say that it is considered to be swallowed up or overlapping with the original tchum. And therefore, we say that there's a principle of havlos tchumim milsahi. Like Rav Shimi Bar Chiya was saying, Omar le Rabbi bar Chana le Abai. Rabbi Bar Chana says to Abai, Umid Rabbi Eliezer kemoisifas le lamar. You're coming to ask a question on Rabbi from the sheet of Rabbi Eliezer. Harei de chachamim choylek. They say not like Rabbi Eliezer. They say you cannot go ahead and re-enter your 2,000 amos original tchum because you're 2 amos outside. They said you cannot do that. So how can you ask on Rabbi from the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer? We don't follow that. This is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, but not the chachamim who argue. Omar le in the shmiya le manei the mar. Indeed, I do hear that of mar. Meaning to say, I can use this shita. Why? Because after all, when is there a machlok between the Chacham and Rabbi Eliezer? That's when it's a davar reshus. But when there's a mitzvah, even the Chacham would agree that you can go ahead and go back to that original tchum. Ad kan lo pligi rabban aled Rabbi Eliezer ela lidvar hareshus. Aval lidvar mitzvah moidu lei. But when it's a mitzvah like this case, belonging to pikuach nefesh, then he would agree with indeed Rabbi Eliezer, they would agree with Rabbi Eliezer that you would have the original tchum if you would like to go back to that tchum. Because why? Because of this principle of that we say havlos techumim milsahi.